Hi, my name is Ellie Marshall, and I'm a freshman at the University of Minnesota. And today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the dairy industry. So, first, I want to ask how many of you have heard some sort of horror story about like mothers and calves being separated right away after birth, or about how like bloody and invasive dehorning is, and how cows are insemination is unnatural, and then even saying that like we rape the cows because of this just to produce milk. I want to kind of talk about how these are like kind of very false and misinformed, and how spreading this kind of media has caused a lot of harm to the dairy industry. Um, so I'm just going to be telling you a little bit about those common practices, why we do them, and then just kind of wrap it up and say like why we need to support this industry. So first, I think it's really important to know that 98% of dairy farms are small local farms. As you can see here, we got a lot in the Midwest too, in Wisconsin and Minnesota. But however, the stories that catch a lot in the media are the large factory farms where there's a very distant relationship between the owners and the actual animals. And there's not that same connection that you get with family farms where your entire lives kind of depend on the production of those cows, and those cows produce better when they're happy, not stressed, and they're in a clean, safe environment. So these dairy farmers really work hard on making sure that their cows enjoy where they are. Um, Not all farmers have a deep passion for their cows like they should, but most do, and it's important to support them. One thing that I've learned working on the St. Paul Dairy campus is that cows are very sweet and sassy and stubborn, and anyone who is crazy enough to devote their entire lives to these animals really do have a deep love, care, and appreciation for them. So the first misconception that I want to kind of talk about is how we have to dehorn the cows. It's often portrayed as this like harsh removal and it's unnecessary, which it's very much not. So dehorning is the removing of the horns or shaving them, trimming them, kind of just getting those horns out of the equation. The most common practice of this is debudding, which is shown here in this picture. It's a caustic paste that is put on the horn buds before the horn actually develops, and what it does is it kind of gets rid of those cells so the horn never comes in. This is done to a calf 1 to 2 days after birth. As you can see in this picture, those calves' ears are up, they're perked up. This calf is happy, he's calm, he's not feeling any sort of pain from this paste. Unfortunately, this paste isn't very effective all the time, so farmers really need to stay on top of it, and the only reason we would have to go to more drastic measures like shaving down the horns is when this paste doesn't work and the horns then continue to grow. So we need to get rid of the horns mainly for safety. It's it's very dangerous for that cow to have those horns. They can get caught and twisted. It's very dangerous for the farmers and cows around it because those horns are a very sharp point and there's a lot of force coming from that cow behind them. So they're very dangerous to have in a work situation. The next misconception is that we're like ripping away these calves from their mothers. And this is also done for a lot of reasons. We like to like kind of imagine like, oh, a cute mother cow and her calf like all happy, but unfortunately that's not the case. Cows actually make pretty bad mothers a lot of the times. They can reject them, kick them, ignore them, step on them, lay on them, and just cause a lot of damage to that calf so that it won't be able to get the proper nutrients and food that it needs. So it's really important that we kind of separate them for that calf's safety. And another real reason is kind of like how we're all social distancing right now. We kind of have to separate that calf from that mother in that area where there's other cows, because a lot of diseases can be in there that those calves have a very fragile immunity system. It can be really dangerous for them to be in that same area when they're so young and small. So we need to isolate them, make sure they're eating properly, and that they're not like sick with anything. So these are some of the calves we have on campus. As you can see, they're very happy, healthy little goofballs. They're a lot of fun to be around. The final practice that's misportrayed in the media a lot is artificial insemination. Um, it's often called like unnatural, and people say it's like against the cow's will and uncomfortable for them. and it's really just not the case. In a video done by a YouTuber who goes by Sask Dutch Kid in Canada, he records a video of him walking around the freestall with an insemination gun, and the cows in heat will follow him around and stand for him so they can be inseminated, because any cow in heat knows what that gun means and that they want to be bred. So in this picture here specifically, it shows a cow in a freestall barn who is standing patiently, calmly for that man to inseminate her, because she knows what that means and it's not uncomfortable for her at all. The only time it might be a little weird is when it's first calving like heifer and she hasn't experienced that again, but they pick up on it pretty quickly, and it's a really easy, simple process. The reason why we don't use bulls is because they're very dangerous to have around, and with we can use select sires, so you can get really good genetics by ordering the semen versus having a bull on hand. Also, it's very dangerous for the cow to have that much weight on it when it's being mounted. They can slip and break something, and that bull is just dangerous in general to have around. So overall, there's a lot of these misconceptions in the media that really kind of hurt the dairy industry. In 2018, there was a $1.1 billion drop in sales in dairy, and a lot of this is because factory farms are producing more and more than the demand for milk, but they can afford to do that, and they can afford to sell their milk at a lower price point, whereas small farms aren't getting the competitive prices that they need. So dairy prices haven't gone up in years as they should, like the rest of the economy and prices have. So those small farms are really struggling a lot due to these large factory farms, and those large farms are where a lot of these stories start to take root and grow, and then they also then hurt the small farms even more. So continue to kind of switch and support these small local dairy farms. We can help them be able to get enough income to invest in new practices like embryo transfer shown here, where we can guarantee better successful rates of having only females instead of males, which will be very beneficial for farms. And there's a lot of other practices that they can continue doing, like better bedding and feed management, all kinds of sorts of things. But that can't happen unless we all support them and spread correct information versus listening to false media who misrepresent things that are happening on the farm, and that information spreads faster than the correct stuff. So we really need to kind of work together and reverse things like this sort of movement against dairy. In conclusion, the dairy industry is not evil at all. There's a lot of care and love that goes into it. And it really needs a lot of support, especially right now during Corona, when farmers are having to dump milk because production is or processing has gone down a lot, but they're still producing, so they have to dump it, which is very sad. One thing you can do if you really want to support St. Paul campus is buying the U of M ice cream, because we produce that, and any help is appreciated. And always feel free to ask questions, because obviously correct information is an important thing to have. Thank you.